Hey guys, it's Sarah and today is BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsey over at Lindsey's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or book topic that we feel like talking about for the week. And for this week, we decided we were going to talk about some winter reads. And I'll be honest, I'm not a big seasonal reader. So when I was thinking about whether I wanted to do recommendations or if I wanted to do books on my TBR, I lean more towards the TBR. So it was just a little bit easier for me to think about books that I knew had a wintry feel or that were set in the winter time versus books I've already read. And since my TBR books have been on my mind a whole lot lately, they kind of just came to mind a lot easier. So I'm going to go with books that I have on my TBR that are very wintry. And who's surprised, they're all white. So the first one that I grabbed is actually on my Christmas book exchange card. This is one that Lindsey sent me, and that is The Life We Bury. And this is by Alan Eskins. And she has loved this book and talked about this book before. And she said one of her favorite lines in any book of all time is in this book, which is awesome. But this one follows a college student. His name is Joe, and he has a writing assignment in an English class where he has to interview a stranger and learn more about their life and write a paper on that. And so he decides he's just going to go to a local nursing home and pick somebody who's willing to tell him their life story and kind of go from there. He's not really expecting much out of it. He just kind of wants to get it done. There, he meets Carl. Carl is a Vietnam War veteran. He was also recently medically paroled because he had spent 30 years in prison under a conviction of rape and murder. As Joe is getting to know Carl and as Carl starts telling Joe his life story, Joe is piecing some things together, thinking, this doesn't quite add up. Things are not making a whole lot of sense here. So Joe ends up throwing himself into Carl's story and throwing himself into how he can prove that maybe Carl did not commit these crimes. All the while Carl is, he's very limited on his time left on the earth because he's been medically paroled. He doesn't have very much longer to live. So Joe is trying to see if he can find these answers before Carl passes away. So I've heard really good things about this book from multiple people, not just Lindsey, and definitely, as you can see, wintry vibes because there's snow all over the cover. The next one that I have here is 5 Total Strangers. This is by Natalie D. Richards. I picked this up because my friend Candace read this and literally sent me a picture of the cover and said, you need to read this book. And I was like, okay, so I picked it up. And this one is set in the holiday season and it's set in Philadelphia. We're following a girl, Mira, who is trying to get home for the holidays. She needs to get home for the holidays. However, she is at the airport and she is dealing with a canceled flight and trying to figure out how she's going to still be able to try to get home. Someone who was sitting next to her on her first flight into Philadelphia has come to her rescue by saying, hey, me and my friends rented a car. We can drop you off wherever you need to go. It's, I guess wherever she's going is going to be on the way. So she gets into this rented car with these 4 people who she does not know. And it goes from there. Things start happening. She starts getting very scared for her life on different levels versus things like the road conditions and the people in the car. So this is very intriguing. I have a feeling it's going to be a quick thrillery read and I'm excited to read it, and definitely, set in the wintertime in New England with the car and the roads and all that good stuff. Next one I have here is The Winter People. So not only a wintry looking book, but winter in the title. This is by Jennifer McMahon. And this follows a family who has moved to a small farmhouse in Vermont, and it is a woman and her 2 children. Ruthie is our main character. She is 19 years old, and she is living in this farmhouse with her mother and her younger sister. And one day, Ruthie finds a diary from somebody who lived in the house in the early 1900s, and this person had died mysteriously not too long after the death of her own daughter. And everything was very mysterious. Nothing was ever solved. There's been a lot of rumors and a lot of legends coming from that occurrence. And so Ruthie finds her diary in this house and it was hidden. And so now she's trying to see what happened back then and things start to parallel some things that were happening back then, and now they're happening to Ruthie and her family. So it's really freaking her out, obviously. So I've heard this is really good. I've heard it's creepy, and I'm excited to read it. Lindsay also loved this one. Okay, so the next one I have here is Let Me In. This is by John Ajvide Lindqvist, and this is a Swedish author. This one also has been published under the title Let the Right One In. So there's 2 different titles for this one, depending on where it was published. And this one is actually kind of a paranormal story. It follows a young boy, he's 12, and there is somebody that he knows that is killed in his town, and he's killed very strangely. He has no blood in his body when he is found. Like his whole body has been drained of blood. And so that's very interesting. This boy is also meeting a new girl that has moved into his town. I think it might be a neighbor. And she's very strange. She only comes out at night. She seems to be brilliant, but she's very naive about a lot of things in the world. But once she figures things out, it's like instant almost. So he is developing a friendship and then maybe something a little bit more with her. And then things are just happening around his town that are unexplainable. So he's trying to figure out all that as well. I have heard very good things about this book. And every time I talk about it, someone is like, please read it. It's so good. So, but definitely, as you can see, wintry, they're in the snow. There's woods. So, yeah. And the last one I have here is by one of my favorite authors, and it's one that I haven't read yet, but that is Winterspell. This is by Claire Legrand. This is actually a Nutcracker retelling, or it's inspired by the Nutcracker. So definitely, wintry vibes plus the Nutcracker element into it as well. But this is a fantasy book, and this follows a young girl named Clara, and this is set in 1899, so it's historical as well. And she is the daughter of the mayor, and she leads a double life. So she has like kind of this public life where she's the daughter of the mayor. She's very proper, putting on all the fronts for that. But ever since her mother was murdered, she's been secretly training in self-defense, which is very interesting, kind of making sure she can take care of herself if she needs to. And then on Christmas Eve, disaster strikes. Her home is destroyed and her father has been abducted. So she takes it upon herself to try to figure out what happened to her father, who took him, what's going on. She teams up with some people. She ends up realizing that there are magical beings in the world. She teams up with a dethroned prince. His name is Nicholas. He has some dark secrets of his own. There's a fairy queen that's going to be after them as well. So she goes into this whole mystical, magical journey, if you will. Sounds really good. I do love Claire Legrand. I'm not expecting this to be amazing because I have not heard amazing things about it, but she's one of my favorite authors. I definitely want to read it at some point. Definitely Christmas time would be a good time to do that, but Winterspell. Hey guys, those are some wintry books that are sitting on my shelves waiting to be read. Please let me know if you read any of them and what you thought. Let me know what you have on your shelves that are wintry or Christmassy themed. I'd love to know that as well. Do you have any coming up soon that you're excited to read? And make sure you go check out Lindsey today and see what books she's going to be talking about too. I'm excited to see what she's going to be mentioning. All right, that's going to be it for me. Hope you guys have a great day, and we will see you again soon. Bye.